Here we go. All right. Looks like live streaming has started. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the North Clackamas School District's School Board Candidate Forum put on by the PCLA. I'm Erin Lee. I am the chair of the PCLA, also a parent in the community. I have kiddos at the Milwaukee High School feeder system. Let's see. Before we get started, I'd like to read the North Clackamas School District's Native Land Acknowledgement, which reads, "We acknowledge that the land on which we sit and which we call the North Clackamas School District rests on the traditional indigenous lands and village sites of Native peoples of the Kalapuya, Chinook, Molalla, and Clackamas. We take this opportunity to offer gratitude for the ability to learn, work, and be a community on this land. And we offer thanks to the original caretakers of this region. We recognize the historic policies of colonization, genocide, relocation, and assimilation that affected Indigenous and Native families, both past and present, and that will affect those in the future, and honor the resilience and revitalization of our Indigenous and Native communities. We pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, who have been the stewards of this land throughout the generations." Okay, well, again, I'm Erin Lee, this year's PCLA chair. To describe a little bit or tell you a little bit about the PCLA, we are a volunteer-driven committee. We work to engage the community in conversations. We create partnerships that enhance the quality of the North Clackamas schools. We take solution-based approach to challenges that are presented to us, and we work as a superintendent's advisory committee to support both the community and our schools. Let's see, we've been around for a long time, but this is the 7th year. We've been around longer than 7 years, but this is the 7th year we've hosted the school board forum, as we believe in the importance of school board elections and the school board, and have sought to engage the community in these elections. We also host other legislative forums and other forums pertinent to our school community. I'd like to thank everyone for participating tonight. Thank you for taking the time, and to anyone listening in on the live stream, we appreciate you being here too. Now turn it over to Stephanie Rose, who's going to be our moderator tonight. Take it away, Stephanie.
All right, thank you, Erin. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Stephanie Rose. I am a parent and volunteer in the district. I've been with the PCLA since their inception. I've served as chair and vice chair, as well as chair of the Legislative and Funding Committee, and am now taking a bit of a break as a member, but moderating for this forum. I really do enjoy doing this moderating for the forum, and thank you everyone for watching. Our school board elections are very important elections for our community. So just to go over a few things before we start tonight, the PCLA works diligently to secure commitments to attend this forum from all of our candidates. We do have 7 of the 8 candidates here with us tonight. One of them is in travel and will hopefully be hopping in if they can. The North Clackamas School District does not sponsor or endorse candidates. The North Clackamas School District is allowing PCLA to host this forum on their YouTube channel as a public service to deliver information. Each of the candidates will be answering questions round robin style. So no one candidate will always start and no one candidate will always finish. So we will have the candidates answer in the order they appear on the Clackamas County website of their filing order. So that will be Paul Kemp, Tara Nelson, if she can hop in with us, Jenna Benaloga, Courtney Swersben, Glenn Wachter, Amy Renner, April Dobson, and Angela Peterson in that order. I will call each of them to start. As I ask the question will also be put in the chat for the candidates to read. The candidates were given one question before this event. It was their introductory question, and they will have 1.5 minutes to answer that question. And then for the remaining questions, they will have 1 minute to answer. So with that, we will go ahead and get going. So the first question is, I should mention, totally forgot to do this. These questions came from our community. We put a Google form out and we asked our community members to ask the questions that they wanted to hear from the candidates. So all of these questions came from our community members, and I will read the name of the person who asked the question as well as their feeder system. So this first question for them to introduce themselves is, in what capacity have you been involved, volunteered, or worked in our school district? What buildings or feeder areas did this take place in, and how does this experience make you a good choice for the entire district? That was asked by Jillian McSweeney Nicodemus in the Milwaukee feeder area. And Paul, you can go ahead and start.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Paul Kemp. I'm running for position 1. As far as the feeder systems and so on, I have not done a lot of in-classroom volunteer work. All of my volunteer work was at around Clackamas High School and Sunrise Middle School and Happy Valley Elementary. Again, not much in the classroom, but I was incredibly involved in the dance team when my daughter was there for 3 years, and that was almost like a full-time job at times. I also was vice president of Touchdown Club for 3 years, and also involved with lacrosse. Most of this involved, a lot of it was raising funds for the programs, and also helping host the individual events at home when we had a home game or home competition. A few months ago, I was asked to run for position 1 of the board because of volunteer work at the schools, but also the broader volunteer work I've done in the community over the years. And because of that, I think the broad background I have would make me a good candidate. My daughter's also a teacher. I've been encouraging her to be a teacher, and she's been a teacher now for 9 years, and I'm extremely proud of her. I have a lot of teacher friends. I'm an avid reader myself, and my daughter and I, at the end?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul, very much. All right, we will move on to Gina.
All right, thank you. My name is Gina Benaloga. I currently serve in position 2 and am running for re-election. I have volunteered in the district for 23 years, starting as a classroom parent and a volunteer with Campbell Rao in Milwaukee High School. I've been grad party chair for both of my kids, PTA officer, been volunteer coordinator. I was on the boundary committee, the budget committee, and the legislative agenda committee. I've been involved in Stand for Children and PCLA when it comes to our bonds and levies, and I've been a building captain for those. I advocated in Salem many years, for decades actually, advocating in Salem for stable funding. I've been involved with mock interviews at Putnam and Milwaukee. I've done food drives at Happy Valley Middle School. I've helped set up for the dinner at Billquist. I've done art projects at several elementary schools, and I've been a college essay mentor to help kids write their college entrance essays. I am invested in all of the students and the families and staff. That's why I feel that I'm a good choice for the entire district. It's not my journey or my legacy. It's about the journey and the elevation of the entire school district. And I believe in true collaboration, and I'm ready to continue that work for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Courtney, you can go ahead and start.
Hi, my name is Courtney Swersman, and I'm running for position 2 on North Clackamas School Board. Our schools are in need of some serious change in leadership, and I'm running to break the mold and bring back accountability and unity. My kids are both within this district. I have volunteered through Sunnyside and Mount Scott Elementary School on different school field events. I have volunteered for numerous different youth programs, sports programs in this area, including CYF and Extra Pass basketball. Most of the youth sports I have learned to participate most of the youth sports I have learned through volunteer work was around fundraising and organizing and community communication areas. I've learned to appreciate the challenges the schools and teachers have in educating our children. I have seen adult politics creeping into our schools, and I will work relentlessly to ensure our students and kids learn in an environment where they can focus on fundamentals of education, such as math, reading and writing, science, and I will engage the community in open communication so all voices are heard, and I will work to unite people and not divide within the difference. Thanks.
Thank you, Courtney. Glenn, you can start when you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Glenn Wachter. I'm the father of 4 North Clackamas students, and I have 2 precious grandchildren who are on the way to North Clackamas schools. My children have been part of the Clackamas High Feeder, and you probably have seen me. I'm the dad that attends every event that my kids are in, every field trip, every back to school night, every parent teacher conference, every jazz band performance, stage band concert, swim meet and track meet. I'm there, I'm annoying, and I'm cheering, and I'm showing up for those kids. I've showed up for Clackamas youth in other ways too. For the last 6 years, I've volunteered on Parrot Creek Child and Family Services board, and am presently the board chair. If you don't know Parrot Creek, it's been become the regional center of excellence to serve high-risk teens who have slipped through the cracks and committed a crime. And in that service of Parrot Creek, I've learned that it's imperative that we connect with kids at risk sooner so that they don't fall through the cracks later. I'm the right choice for this district because I understand leadership, and especially at the board level. I understand strategy, finance, driving toward excellence, and most of all, I understand our students. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Glenn. Amy, you're up next.
Yes, thank you. And Jillian, thank you so much for the question. I appreciate the opportunity to speak here tonight. I can tell you my wife and I, we moved up to Oregon 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years in August. And North Clackamas School District came highly recommended for special needs children. And we found our home within the North Clackamas School District. And I can tell you, working hand in hand with Vern Duncan has been wonderful with helping create my son's IEP. And everyone at that school, from the principal all down to the first grade teacher that my son worked with, have all been fantastic. I have been involved in my son's education since he entered the realm of kindergarten, and have volunteered in numerous ways, from fundraising events to being in room and in person, helping alongside the teachers and administrators. Unfortunately, that has changed in the district because I am unvaccinated, so there still is a vax mandate that hasn't allowed me to enter school property over the last few years. So I'm hoping that with the new change in leadership and board, that we look to move beyond that, because the district is in certain need of volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. April, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. My name is April Dobson, and I'm running for North Clackamas School Board Position 7. I have 3 children attending NCSD public schools. I currently serve on the board of directors for Clackamas Middle College and Clackamas Web Academy, 2 public charter schools that partner with the North Clackamas School District. I'm a member of the NCSD Budget Committee, a chair for the Superintendent's Advisory Group that is hosting us here tonight, the Parent Community Leadership Alliance. I'm also the vice president of the PTSA at Adrian C. Nelson High School, and I volunteer at Beatrice Kennedy Elementary School and have also volunteered at Oregon Trail Elementary School, supporting literacy and comprehension. These experiences have informed my belief in robust and equitable public education, which I hope will benefit the entire district if I'm elected to this position. I entered this race because I've spent the last 15 years raising my children and supporting every minute of their public education. And through that advocacy, I've learned that there are serious challenges facing Oregon's public schools, challenges that I hope to meet in collaboration with the board, the administration, teachers, students, and families. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Angela, you can go when you're ready.
Hey there, can you let me know if you can hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you great.
Okay, I'm traveling right now from Phoenix to Portland with our freshman who just finished college. So I apologize if there's background noise. I'm Angela Peterson. I'm running for position number 7. And I'd just like to say that my roots run really deep in this district. I've lived in the community since 1978. I was here when the Clackamas Town Center and I-205 were just in their beginning phases. I am a graduate of Clackamas High School, 1986, and so is my husband. After graduating, then going on to college, went to Humboldt State, got my teaching credential, and I came back home where I became a teacher at Mount Scott Elementary School, 4th grade teacher there for several years, and then went back home to raise my 3 little kids. They are all now graduated recently from Clackamas High School. I have over 20 years of teaching experience, and 15 of those years have been in the North Clackamas School District. I've taught elementary school up through high school. I've worked as a substitute teacher K through 12. I've worked at the Clackamas Web Academy as a teacher and advisor. I've also been a home instructor for children that are experiencing learning disabilities and behavioral challenges. So I am an advocate. I have been a passionate advocate for my students all these years, and as well as my own children. I have a son with dyslexia and ADHD, and I've been his advocate.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
So again, welcome to all of our candidates. Thank you for running through that. It's great for our community to know your backgrounds as we move into this. So now we will move into the remaining 8 questions, which you will have 1 minute to answer. So this first question is from Shannon Machinchi. I'm so sorry, Shannon, if I probably brutalized that. Is in the Clackamas feeder system. So the question asker states that they believe school should be a place of learning where books aren't banned, equity is a focus, and all students have opportunities to experience a wide range of topics. Their question is, how will you guarantee that our students in North Clackamas will continue to be exposed to all topics and all curriculum that help them to be global citizens? And Gina, you will start us off on that one.
Thank you so much. I think that there's several things that we are doing and can continue to do. That we, as far as curriculum, we are on a 7-year cycle for adopting curriculum, and that's from the Oregon Department of Education. The state provides the standards and the curriculum choices, but I also think we have a transparent process where we do have the ability for our parents and for our stakeholders and community to come in and to look at that curriculum. I think that we have also, the board has supported the process for parents to opt their child out. And I think that this is a really important piece, that it really encourages communication with the media specialist at the school so that there is a two-way conversation about what the books look like in our school libraries and what our parents are comfortable with. And I think that we should continue that and continue to engage our community.
Thank you very much, Gina. Courtney, you can start when you're ready.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, and as a reminder, the question is also in the chat if you need to read it while this is going on. So the question asker states that they believe school should be a place of learning where books aren't banned, equity is a focus, and all students have opportunities to experience a wide range of topics. Their question is, how will you guarantee that our students in North Clackamas will continue to be exposed to all topics and curriculum that help them be global citizens?
Yes, thank you. I think when it comes to, can you hear me? I think when it comes to book banning, it isn't about us banning the books right now. It's about the pornographic material that are within our district. And I think it's important that we realize that the books that we are trying to get out of this district have nothing to do with us banning of the books. And I guess that's all I have to say because I ran out of time. But
Courtney, you may continue for 30 more seconds because I was rereading the question.
okay, I do think it's important for us to be able to have conversations within our community and within the district about the books that are being presented to our kids, and go from there, and how we present it to the public, and the transparency is super important for me. And that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you. Glenn, you're up next.
Now I'm unmuted. Thank you. Super question. This one I'm really passionate about for sure, because I can tell that Shannon is really asking about how do we ensure that our student graduates are critical thinkers, and so I'm delighted to follow the journey that North Clackamas School District has been on in the equity journey, as well as exposing our students to all kinds of thoughts, ideas to help them become well-rounded critical thinkers. My high school son is in language arts, and I couldn't be happier that they're learning about language arts through the lens of the Harlem Renaissance and Reconstruction. That's the kind of forward-thinking kind of way I would love all students across the country to be able to learn history as it is, the good, the bad, the ugly, and trending towards good.
Thank you, Glenn. All right, next up we have Amy.
Yes, thank you so much for that question, Shannon. This is my platform in response. I was in attendance at the library service presentation that the board gave on January 12th, 2023. And so I understand the approval process and that it takes many layers of approval, but this is my concern and question to the district is what policy or structure do you have in place to opt my child out of, if I opt my child out of a particular book, but that book ends up in my child's hands from another student that does not have a flag on their Destiny account, which is why the policy that we have in place is a flawed policy, which can ultimately create emotional turmoil for a child if they're not aware of the content of the book that they have started reading, which is why we would like to opt in rather than opt out. We'd also like to create a review committee comprised of parents, guardians, and volunteers within the community before we move forward.
Thank you, Amy. April, you're up next.
Well, I think the approach to ensuring that students get a well-rounded education with critical thinking is twofold. I believe in books, I believe in science, I believe in educators, I believe in libraries and the National Association of School Librarians, from whom our list of books comes. And I think we both need to support our kids in their seeking out of books that interest them, as well as our educators in providing that inspiring and age-appropriate curricula that prepares each kid for their future and allows them to explore the world through books.
Thank you, April. Angela, you can go when you're ready.
Yes, thank you. Hey, that's a great question. I just want to take this opportunity to clarify our platform in that we are probably the most inclusive of diversity candidates. We actually want to make sure that it is abundantly clear that all lifestyles and all children and their families are represented in our curriculum and literature. When we talk about wanting to see different communities represented in literature, we are fully supportive of that. we just need to clarify the distinctive difference between reflecting culture in literature and providing the difference in that our district has some material that is obscene and pornographic. And that is an issue that we are not willing to back down on and that we want to have addressed in our school district. So let's continue to embrace diversity of thought, and we can unite our district on that premise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Angela. All right, this next question is from Melinda Snodgrass in the Nelson area. They say, several years ago, the district changed the way middle school math is offered. They took away leveled math classes and put students in the same math class based on their grade. This has resulted in academic gaps in both middle and high school. The question is, what is your stance on bringing back leveled math classes so students, both those behind the curve and those ahead of it, can learn where they are currently? And we will start that one off with Courtney.
Hi, thank you. I think that it's important that we realize that the state minimum was, am I on? Sorry. Okay, I think it's important that we realize that the state minimum was lowered and they made it to where the students that were learning at a lower level and the students that were at a higher level were all put on the same basis. So I think we need to raise our minimum standards, period, and go back to testing, if that makes sense, to do minimum standardized testing.
All right, are you done with your time?
I am, thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, Glenn, you're up next.
Thanks, Melinda, for this question. Melinda, I'm a math nerd. I think in Excel spreadsheets, and I was the kid who took all the math classes in high school and college. So this one matters to me. I respect that some students have a little more challenges than others in capturing and understanding the math curriculum. And I think what North Clackamas Schools has done so well recently is what's called the multi-tiered system of support, where all of the curriculum of math, for instance, is taught in that classroom space. And then smaller subgroups can be receiving the additional support that they need to be proficient and meet those goals in their classrooms. This is really not segmenting students out on ability level, but certainly ensuring that they have the support they need to be successful. I think we're on the right track on this one, but we have to keep our eye on math proficiency for sure.
All right, Glenn, thank you. Amy, you are up next.
Yes, great question. I am also a numbers person. So being in sales, every number tells a story and the data tells a story. And this story is concerning. Let me share it with you. In 2022, fourth grade math, we dropped 6 points. We're at a 66% succession rate. You've got to go all the way down to 2013, where we're at an 80% test rate, to 2022, we're sitting at a 66% test rate at fourth grade math, that they can do math at grade level. That's a 15-point drop. We're going in the wrong direction. So when we talk about bridging that gap and getting these folks up to standards on academics, particularly mathematics, it's because this type of story, this type of data, this type of statistics tells a story that we're not moving in the right direction. And I'm here to move us in the right direction by pulling up academic standards, especially in math. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. All right, April, you are up.
Well, I agree actually with a lot of things that have been said. And I think that's because, every one of our kids learns differently and needs different things in order to succeed. Now, the district as a whole obviously has to make choices based on what they think will positively impact the largest number of students. But I think it's fair to ask the district to continue to look at, what's working and what's not working, who's succeeding and who seems to be falling through the cracks. And one thing I know about the North Clackamas School District, its teachers and its administrators, is that they're not afraid to make those kind of frank assessments and change course if they think it's necessary. And I certainly imagine myself to be a board member who would make those changes as necessary as well. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Angela, you're up.
Thank you. Yes, this is a great question. Speaking of math and these sorts of issues, we have not only below average math standards right now, or not standards, but mathematical literacy, basically, competency. We are not giving those kids the individualized instruction that they desperately need. We need to return back.
Think we have lost Angela. She is traveling.
To catch up to the minimum standards. Oh, they lost me.
Well, you're back. You're back.
Oh my gosh, I'm going through the mountains. I'm so sorry. Where did I leave off? Okay, can I continue?
Yes, please go ahead and continue.
Okay. So I guess what I'm getting at is that I think we need to return to the individualized instruction starting at the middle school level. Let those kids excel that are excelling in math, and keep those kids where they need to be that need help catching up. So if we could do that individually, I think that we would retain a lot more students in the district. I know a lot of parents were really disappointed when we changed that model. So let's get back to that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Angela. And I did allow Angela that extra 10 seconds because of the time that she was frozen for. So just to be clear on that. All right, Paul, you are up next.
Yeah, hi. I guess I'm one of those math nerds too. I think my senior year in high school, I took 2 full credit hours of math. I know from doing a lot of math in high school, kids sometimes struggle. I struggled with certain concepts and certain parts of different areas of calculus and so on. So not everybody's going to progress at the same pace. And I'm sure the interruption with the COVID has impacted a lot of students at a critical point in their education. I would say if the testing does not improve and we don't find another model, that perhaps the school district should take a serious look at returning to a program and system that worked really well in the district for all the students. I'm never afraid to look at the data and change direction if need be, as long as there are strong arguments for it, and we have the people in place to maybe return to a teaching method that we had.
Thank you, Paul. And Gina, you will wrap us up with this one.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to mention that, yes, I actually agree with a lot of the things that we've taught that have been mentioned about math. I will say that one of the things that the district has done is they have delayed the math adoption to give us some more time to investigate. We've done a thought exchange, and we want to really do the research. The district wants to do the research to choose the correct curriculum. In some instances, we have earlier access to algebra, and then it still continues to get our students into calculus. But we also understand that we need to be able to support all of our kids, whether they're advanced or whether they need extra support. And we absolutely do need to look at how we are focusing and teaching math and the supports that we have. And I definitely support the holding back of adopting a new curriculum so that we choose the right one instead of feeling far more rushed. So I will say that I definitely am open to researching more and to learning more about leveled math classes.
Thank you very much, Gina. All right, this next question and statement comes from Vanessa Holmgren from the Milwaukee feeder area. They ask, what is your understanding of social emotional learning and how do you think it is being taught in schools? Many students experience trauma, and I wonder what your suggestions are when it comes to helping students through trauma. I know many teachers would like every student to be physically and mentally healthy, fed and loved, but unfortunately that is not always the case. They need our assistance and their families need our partnership. And with that one, Glenn, we will start with you.
Thank you. Thanks for this question, Vanessa. Certainly there's been some trauma in a couple of my kids' experience through schools, and certainly have greatly appreciated the kindness, the relationship building that North Clackamas teachers have provided my kids, and I'm certain all of the children that they encounter. Social emotional learning is important because I believe it shows empathy for others, and that's a lesson that's often missing in our very busy online worlds. It shows human connection, helps students identify with other people and build relationship. I think there's a very positive work to be done here, and it's a way that I think our teachers naturally are inclined to be and supporting their students. But I think it's certainly a policy, a practice within our North Clackamas schools that I value.
Thank you, Glenn. Amy, you're up.
Yes, thanks for the question. When I look at time, and we look at these students only being at school for an allotted amount of time, I look at whether or not I want my child to dive into academics, or whether or not I want my child to take electives in a certain specialized field. So when I go to answer your question on this, where I like my time or my child's time to be spent is really concentrating on academics, especially during this time of seasonality we're in, because our children are behind in reading, writing, and arithmetic. So when we talk about minutes and preparation minutes, I want all my time to be spent educating, instructional learning with scientific and fact learning curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. April.
Children aren't machines, and I don't believe we should be in the business of optimizing them for number of minutes spent on a specific subject. I'm the parent of a child on the autism spectrum. I have firsthand experience with the value of social emotional learning as it pertains to children with learning differences, and also adults who are just trying to regulate themselves out in the world. And I'm really appreciative that elementary schools are including social and emotional learning along with recess as part of building not just the minds of our children, but their characters and their health. SEL helps establish responsible or maintain supportive relationships and establish responsible and caring decisions made by kids, and I support that.
Oh, I didn't unmute myself. I was saying thank you to you. I'm going to cut you off. All right, Angela, you are up next.
Okay. Well, I think there is a place sometimes for social emotional learning lessons. I really am a little bit taken aback when we like Glenn was saying, teachers are wired to integrate social emotional learning within everything they do. And, I had the golden rule was up in my classroom, and that's, the rules we lived by was just, modeling positive problem solving, critical thinking, behavior, empathy, compassion. These are things that teachers model. I mean, this is what we do. Setting aside additional time for just lessons on social emotional learning, getting to what Amy was mentioning, I think that we need to prioritize what we're spending our time on. I think teachers' hands are full enough with getting to the meat and potatoes of our curriculum, and that they model that social emotional learning every day with their students. So, and I have a lot of experience with traumatized kiddos, so I understand the importance. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Paul, you're up now.
Yeah, thanks. It is a good question. I hear about the classroom disruptions from my daughter and other teachers and kids misbehaving and the impact it has on everybody else in the classroom. So, I think with the impacts of social media today on kids, I didn't have that when I was a kid. I can't imagine how much that affects our kids today, even though they're not necessarily using your cell phone at school. Those things still have an impact on kids. And I think kids probably aren't aware of the impact of things they may say on social media and do on social media and how it impacts others when you're not seeing a reaction right up front. So while I agree that we need to focus on fundamentals, reading, math, and so on, there are some new challenges in our environment now, and I think they have to be addressed with the schools. And kids need to learn the skills to be.
Thank you, Paul.
All right.
Gina, you're up next.
Thank you. I would also echo some of the sentiments of that we live in a different world. We absolutely want to focus on our fundamentals and our reading and writing and math skills. However, we also know that we need to raise good human beings, and we need to educate our kids to be global citizens and to be good citizens. And I think that part of that comes from learning to regulate and to relationship build. It's so important that we create those relationships at an early age. And even as they get older, when our kids maybe tend to ask for help in many different ways, we need adults and caring people and caring staff in the school that have built those relationships and built those trusting relationships with our students so that they know that there's someone to go to. So I do believe that I believe we can do both. I think we are doing both, and I think we can continue that good work and help our kids through some very difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. And Courtney, you'll wrap this one up for us.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the question, Vanessa. I, as a parent with a student at Rock Creek right now, there's a lot of social, emotional not classes she's taking, electives, I could say. But I also think that we need to bring that back and focus on the fundamentals of education. That's really important for me right now, as she is behind in mathematics and reading. I don't think that social topics should be brought within our district and be in the classroom. I think it's important that we focus more on teaching our kids how they are going to get through how they're going to succeed at life, I guess.
Thank you, Courtney. All right, our next question is from Shauna Zawadski, and they are in the Putnam feeder area. And the question is, what are your thoughts on the current and proposed budget for the district? How would you determine your budget priorities? And we are going to have Amy start us off on that one.
Thank you so much for the question. When I look into the financials that are publicly out there, one website, Public School Review, it's showing us that we're overspending and underperforming. We are spending at $23,000 per student when the state average is $15,000. We're pretty much on parity with revenue, but when you talk about determining budget priorities, my ultimate priority is to make sure that we're maximizing student productivity, but also taking into consideration taxpayers that approved bond measures, such as bond measure 3541, that projected in a 5 years time, we'd have 18,000 people enrolled in this district. You guys, we're under close to about 5,000, okay? That's a 3% shortfall. Where do you think we're gonna come up with that money and another bond measure by your tax dollars?
Thank you, Amy. All right, up next we have April.
Well, I don't know that I'm going to answer this question in the way that the questioner intended, because I am on the budget committee and I am receiving on Monday a copy of the budget to look over. But when people talk to me about the budget and the way that we're spending money, the thing that I focus on the most is how little money we actually have to spend. The state of Oregon has chronically underfunded education for generations now. And, you know, there is no waste. We're not looking at waste in school budgets. We're looking at splitting up a grain of rice, 17,000 different ways. And for years, I've heard all kinds of blame being levied against parents or teachers, unions, school districts, superintendents, when in reality, this is a state of Oregon problem. Our children in the state of Oregon are in school a full year less
Thank you,
than
April.
kids in the state of Washington.
Thank you, April. All right, next we will move on to Angela.
Yes, I want to piggyback on to Amy talking about the data that we have on overspending in our district than the average of other districts in Oregon. We have lost a lot of students. A lot of that enrollment decline falls on the backs of our current leadership in the district. We need to find out why so many families are leaving our school district. We're way down in enrollment. And I think we need to address that first to help address our budget short. At the top, we know that administrative expenses they're overinflated. We need to cut some administration, and we always need to focus on lowering classroom sizes, hiring more teachers, getting rid of admin. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. You did cut out a little bit there, but I feel that your message came across. So thank you. All right, and with that, we'll move on to Paul.
Yeah, I think part of the problem starts with the state. You know, the state has chronically underfunded our schools in the state, and overall the state has underperformed when you compare Oregon to other states in the country. Clackamas has done a pretty good job with graduation rates. They've improved, and there have been some bills that have passed that have had a good impact on the schools and targeted reading fundamentals and some other programs that have lifted reading skills. However, it is hard when we are shortchanged by the state so much every year after year. You know, we need to retain good teachers, and we need to attract good teachers from the start. We need to reduce classroom sizes. So I would focus a lot on the staffing and getting teachers into the classrooms so that kids can get more individual attention that needed and for others to excel.
Thank you, Paul. All right, Gina, we'll move on to you.
Thank you. This is a, perfect timing for this question. We are in the middle of budget season and we'll be receiving the proposed budget next week. I will say that the state has underfunded education for decades. We've been going down to Salem for many years to advocate for stable funding and for services not to be pitted up against one another. Oregon has a trend of targeting money to specific programs, and then that really does, so we target a specific area, and then that's where the district must spend the money. So that's been an ongoing trend in Oregon. Well, North Clackamas is fortunate. We are rebounding faster than other districts around us post-pandemic, and we certainly hope that enrollment increases. We know that we need to do our best with the funds that we do have to lower class sizes. We know that that is a priority. We also know that protecting Sabin-Schellenberg is a priority when it comes to our budget as well.
Thank you, Gina. All right, Courtney, you're up.
Hi, great question. I will first say that's one of the issues that I want to dive into when I am elected on school board. I don't have the answer now, but I would like to understand why we have a 3% drop in enrollment and why our budget is so high for our students in our district compared to other districts around us. I think it's, so I think it's important that we realize that we have a 3% drop in enrollment, and that's what I'm trying to understand why. So thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. And Glenn, we will have you wrap us up on this one.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I think that the 3% enrollment is largely driven by post-pandemic recovery. We see the same thing in healthcare. It's not exactly the same space or industry, but there are some similarities. And in fact, even my pharmacy company that's owned by Providence had to essentially cut back significant leadership roles, several $1 million of leadership roles, not caregiver roles. And I think the same might be a good parallel to think about the school district too. So in direct answer to Shauna's question, I would protect those classroom resources. That's the most important thing, to preserve the classroom ratios so that we can stay on track. And the options and variety of programs through Milwaukee Arts and Sabin-Schellenberg are also high priorities. Thank you, Gina, for calling that out. That's where I would put the dollars that we have to protect and preserve. Leadership goes first, and caregivers, and in this case, I think our teachers are actually caregivers, so they need to be remaining intact.
Thank you, Glenn. All right, our next question for the evening comes from Robin Chedister in the Milwaukee feeder area. And she asks, please describe in detail your plans to keep LGBTQIA students safe from bullying and discrimination. Please include your plans to ensure access for all students to safe restrooms that match their gender identity. And with that one, we will start with April.
I think that the North Clackamas School District has been a very welcoming district for LGBTQIA students. I feel that it's been supportive and respectful, both in providing affinity groups space to meet and work, as well as bathrooms that align with the gender that the students are comfortable with. And I want to continue to protect that space that we're holding for these kids who are struggling just like every other teenager or young person to find their place in the world, but who have a special burden of feeling marginalized by other people in the community. So I think that NCSD is on the right track, and I want to continue.
Thank you, April. All right, Angela, you are next.
All right. I think this is a really important question. And I know there's a great concern that this particular group of kiddos is protected. And I share that concern. I share the concern that all groups of children are protected. But in this particular case, I think that it is, we need to recognize that the LGBTQ community is very much welcomed within the district and will continue to be. I also think that when it comes to the bathroom question, I think that we need to respect all of those children, and we need to provide options for all children. If there is a transgendered child that is needing a restroom that they feel comfortable in, and everybody feels comfortable in, we can have individual bathrooms as well. It should be up to their individual choice for those kiddos. Yeah, let's keep welcoming all of our communities to our district.
Thank you, Angela. Paul, you're up next.
Yeah, I mean, I think the district, from what I've seen of their equity plans and inclusiveness plans, we have a pretty good program in place to welcome all students, regardless of their identity and their background. And hopefully, some of the social emotional learning that kids may get earlier in school would come into play later on in their schooling. I would, we see it in public facilities and private businesses now, where they're providing separate restrooms or just individual restrooms. That may be an option. Sometimes that's hard to fit into older schools, existing buildings, but there certainly are ways that can be accommodated, both with the rooms themselves and then with policies within the school district. That should be able to work for everybody. Hopefully everybody, we want all our kids to feel safe in school.
Thank you, Paul. And Gina, you are up next.
Thank you. And I agree with Paul that this goes back to our social emotional learning and teaching empathy and teaching to be good citizens, that this is all about relationship building and having our kids feel welcome and safe and comfortable at school. I think that we have been, the district has been policy driven and really focused on equity and inclusion. And I think that that's such an important aspect. It's not just the way they talk, they think that way, and we create policy and we choose curriculum based on those things. I think we also need to continue to support affinity groups, as well as having a diverse staff. Having a diverse staff helps all of our students in the buildings. And I think that as far as the restrooms go, we do need to make sure that our students feel comfortable, that the restroom that they are able to use and that they feel comfortable using. And I do think that wherever possible, using the funds and the space allotment that we have, finding restroom options for all of our kids.
Thank you, Gina. All right, and up next we have Courtney.
Hi, thank you again. Great question. I think that all kids need to feel safe and protected in a school environment. And when it comes to them, the bathrooms, I think that they need to be able to have a safe space in all of the schools for them to use the restroom. When it comes, and I just wanted to point out, when it comes to what Jenna said about the diversity and equity groups, I have gotten a different perspective on that within this district. I think it's very divisive and it's segregating our kids to be in these affinity groups, and they are seeing each other as different. And I am not with that, and I don't think that that's okay.
Thank you, Courtney. All right, Glenn, we will have you up next.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. I actually see it the very opposite way to what Courtney shared, but that's neither here nor there. I think affinity groups are highly valuable. My children, who don't look a lot like me, they're African American, and And they really value those sorts of community groups to be part and welcomed and recognized. And I don't see it in any way changing the way that they interact with students outside of those affinity groups. I don't think that's right at all. But in terms of restroom access, I think we are on the right track here as a school district. Got a call from a principal of our middle school maybe last year. And I thought, one of my kids has done something. And he complimented my daughter for being not a bystander, but an upstander. And I think that's really what we're aiming for, to help all of our students understand how to support each other, the opposite of bullying.
Thank you, Glenn. All right, and Amy.
Yes, good question. And Glenn, great response. I fall under the LGBT realm. So when I am in my day job in corporate America, I stood on the Equal ERG committee and worked hand in hand with the Human Rights Campaign and the Trevor Project. So I am very adamant in advocating for the folks underneath that umbrella. And I will continue to advocate. As far as safety, bullying, and discrimination, I think that every student, including that LGBT affinity group, needs to have the safe guidance and be able to feel safe while attending school. So not just, bringing just the LGBT, but all affiliated groups together must feel safe. And every other social media post that I'm reading, there's some sort of bullying happening within the school district, and we need to hold people accountable.
Thank you, Amy. All right, for our next question, this will come from Heather Ray in the Putnam feeder area. They ask, many extra services and special curriculums in the elementary schools, like Spanish immersion, care program, sojourner school, are decided by lottery with overflowing wait lists. Is this the most fair way to deliver limited resources? Could we do more to offer more choices to all students for these special opportunities? Would you consider taking a look at this process and offering improvements? And we will have Angela start us off on that one.
Oh, thank you. That's a really good point, and she makes that's a concern. I hear what she's saying, and I would be definitely open and wanting to discuss problem solving of how we could reach more of our students with those specialized school services that those charters and magnet schools provide families. I honestly don't know how we can do that at this time, but I definitely know that if we put our heads to it, we could come up with some way to make this more equitable, so that more of the district can be enriched with those programs. So good question, and I would like to work on that.
Thank you, Angela. And Paul, we'll move on to you.
Yeah, actually, I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds a little disappointing. And I think that is an opportunity for the school board to take a close look at what our options are and see what it would take from a budget standpoint, and either hiring different staff or other additional staff and facilities, because I don't think awarding access to special programs via lottery is the best way to do things. There certainly is room for improvement in that regard. I don't know if that occurs at other schools other than those mentioned here, but I would say district-wide, that would be something I would definitely want to work on and improve those odds of the students that want access to those classrooms get access to those classrooms and those subjects.
Thank you, Paul. Gina.
Yes, thank you. I think that what this shows is the success of these wonderful programs, the Spanish immersion program, our CARE program, our other Sojourner and our other charter schools and our other special programs. They're very popular. And I know that I think that we should and can look at whether we can offer more programs. I think that that's, as Paul was saying, expanding what we can offer is so important. And I would agree. I don't know if having a lottery is the most fair way. I would definitely be open to having a conversation to making sure that that's a fair and equitable process, and that we're giving the most students, and that we're having an equitable process for students to really, so that we can have students throughout the district attending those special programs. So I would absolutely be in favor of looking at that process and making changes where we think we can have improvements.
Thank you, Gina. Courtney, you're up next.
Hi, that is a great question, and that's a great question, and that is where I agree with Paul and Gina. We need to look at budgets and the funding within our district and see where we can make some changes. I don't know a lot about the programs. I don't know a lot about the programs there. And I didn't know that there was a lottery. So that's something that I would definitely look more into when I get on school board.
All right, Courtney, thank you. And up next, we have Glenn.
Thanks for that question, Heather. I don't think that I have anything substantive to add to this, but certainly it underscores the continuing two themes I'm hearing tonight. Clackamas schools have a lot of fantastic programs that need to be continued and expanded, and budgets are tight, right? So I think we're going to have to figure out some other solutions and evaluate whether lotteries are the best way to do it, but probably for now, I hate to say it, it might be the only way to do it in a tighter budget season.
All right, thank you, Glenn. And Amy.
I don't really have anything different to say. I think Glenn, Gina, Paul, they nailed it in terms of their response. Everything in terms of special education or extracurricular activities in North Clackamas is top notch. And, that does go hand in hand with the diversity and inclusion. Out of 30 school districts, North Clackamas is number one in diversity. And that's something to certainly be proud on, not only in people and personnel, but also in the programming. And that's where, we develop the young critical thinkers of today that will go out and be the entrepreneurials, into the next season of their life. And with that, does come, a stringent look at the budget. And I can tell you that I'd be here to work cohesively and collaboratively with the people on board to bring that harmony together.
Thank you, Amy. All right, April.
Well, we're back on the topic that gets me, most fired up, which is that, we don't have secure and stable funding for public schools in the state of Oregon. The state of Washington does. And as I was saying in an earlier question, they're not asking themselves the questions that we are asking ourselves today. Their students, K through 12, get to spend an entire year longer in public school than our students do because the state of Oregon can't afford to keep our schools open for a full quality education model level school year. So while it would be wonderful to expand these programs, there isn't the money to do it. And unfortunately, since medieval times, lotteries have been the way to, in a completely unbiased way, choose who gets to do what. And that's the kind of situation we find ourselves in, medieval funding for public education in the state of Oregon. And we need to lobby hard for more money from the state as members of this school board.
All right. Thank you very much, April. All right. Our next question comes from Corinne Escobar in the Nelson feeder system. And they ask, as a school board member, what will your top 3 priorities be and why are they important? And we are back to Paul to start us off.
Well, the three main issues that I'm concerned about. One is school safety for everyone, for the teachers, the staff, administration, visitors, and most of all the students. And that includes during the school day and at after school activities and sporting events and so on. And for our visitors. One of the other things is I want to make sure people understand, our students understand the fantastic course offerings at Sabin Schellenberg and how those can lead to really good careers right out of high school. There's a real high demand in our local community for people with those skills. And I see that every day in my work life. The other thing I'm really impressed with is the school district's equity plan and inclusiveness plan. I work in the most diverse workforce I've ever had in my life and the most connected. Kids need to learn how to do that. And
Thank you, Paul. All right, Gina.
Yes, thank you. I think we need to focus on the success of every student. And what does that look like? And that means that we need to focus on our fundamentals. We also need to focus on their emotional health and the safety at school. I think that's paramount. We know that supported kids with relationships within the building, kids that are able to access healthcare, we know that they learn better and we know that they succeed. Secondly, we need to I'm going to echo April again. We need to go to the state. We have been advocating in Salem for years for stable funding. Our students do go to school 1 year less than students over K-12 than students in Washington. And we need to do something about the way we fund schools in Oregon, and lobbying and getting our story down to Salem is so important. And lastly, I think we need to focus on a diverse staff that wants to remain in North Clackamas. We want to have staff members that care about our kids because they know that, and they're in the classrooms knowing that the district and the board and the cares about the staff as well.
Thank you, Gina. And Courtney, you're up next.
Hi, I think the three most pressing issues are the lack of inclusion and a need for greater accountability and parental involvement in our system, in our school system. As a board member, I will promote welcoming and open and loving environment for all students, regardless of their race or background. And I will work to ensure that school board remains focused on high education standards and not politics. And it's being held accountable to families and the community.
Thank you, Courtney. All right, Glenn, you are up.
Just want to thank Corin for leaving the last question to be a nice open-ended one that we can talk about what we really prioritize. Thank you, Corin. I can't help but think about the current environment that we're in right now with having to do more with less. And so certainly one of my top priorities is to be an active part of that budgeting process and financial decision-making process as appropriate for a board member. I know there's committees that do a lot of this work and talented finance directors that advise them. So there may still be some hard decisions ahead. And I plan to support that with the intention of really driving ahead to achieve better literacy achievement goals, especially in the third grade reading level. My goodness, that unlocks the whole world to our students if we can really achieve that literacy goal. So those are the top two things, and ensuring in the safe classrooms. Every student in North Clackamas really deserves a safe and welcoming place to learn, to thrive, and to win.
Thank you, Glenn. All right, Amy.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm running on 3 platforms. One, education equity for all students. All students, including those with special needs, should receive the resources and support they need to succeed. We must work to decrease classroom sizes and improve student-teacher interaction by providing the students and the teachers with the tools necessary. Number 2, I'm here to give parents a voice. As a parent involved in school board meetings and with a special needs child, I know how firsthand how parents' concerns are disregarded at the district. I'm here to bring back that parental voice to parents and their students. And then last but not least, transparency in curriculum. No matter how you feel about the curriculum being taught in the local schools, parents deserve the right to know what's happening. We need to increase transparency and communication around curriculum and classroom activity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. All right, April.
Oh, literacy is a big one for me too. As was mentioned, it is the gateway to kids' futures. And if children are not reading by third grade, their chance of graduating from high school drastically decreases. So I'm really excited to see NCSD incorporating phonics into their other variety of methods that they use to teach reading, and applying the student success funds to that as well. I also want to support our educators and seek innovative solutions to provide them with both the professional development that they need and the living wages that they need. And I want to continue the NCSD practice of welcoming collaboration with parents and communities across the school district, because NCSD is really good at that. They're very open. Anything that needs, accommodating, they're willing to work on. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you, April. And Angela.
Yes, thank you so much for this question. I would like to echo some of what April said, that the district is very good about supporting a lot of our students and staff. And we need to build on that, because part of the reason I'm running is that there is not the inclusion that they claim that they have, that they foster. And we need to foster a more inclusive, supportive environment for all of our staff, for all of our students. And when it comes to diversity of thought, that is a real, putting a real damper on our ability to reach students and need the teachers. We have a lot of teachers reaching out to us, and we need to remove these obstacles that seem to be driven by pretty rigid political agendas. And we need to get rid of that and just focus on improving our academics. We need to find out why we don't have.
Thank you, Angela.
Sorry. Thank
You're
you.
good. All right, we actually do have one more question, and this is the one we're going to end on. We felt it appropriate because it is a question that a student asked. So this was asked by a freshman at Nelson High School, Odin D. Trantonio. I'm sorry with the last name. So the question is, North Clackamas prides themselves on being student-centered. How has your work centered around all students of North Clackamas and their needs? How do you continue to serve the needs of all students in our district? And Gina, we will start with you.
All right, thank you. Great question to end on. Again, I have focused on the success of all kids and the relationship building that we need in our classrooms and in our buildings. And I think that is so important. There's so many ways for us to serve the needs of our students and also to serve the needs of our staff. And I think we need to focus on all of those. Early literacy is such an important aspect. And I'm so thankful that the district has taken up the Literacy Institute. And we have 200 teachers that participated in that last summer. We've really focused on professional development around early literacy. And I also think that continuing to support the arts in the district and continuing to support Sabin Schellenberg for our Career Technical Center is so important. We know that enhances and increases our graduation rates. And I think that really focusing on our engagement specialists and the ways that we engage our communities and our families at each school.
All right, thank you very much, Gina. And we will have Courtney follow up.
Hi, this is a great question. I think for me, it's important that you realize that I've spent a lot of my time in this district centered around sports and making sure that our children and the children around us have the best experience when it comes to that. And I also believe in having great programs for education when it comes to reading and mathematics. I think it's great. Like, we in our district, our kids have gone far above expectations when it comes to the business program and when it comes to the basketball program. So I will continue to try to hold that standard. Thanks.
Thank you, Courtney. And Glenn.
Odin must be a very forward-thinking young person. My hat's off, Odin. You're thinking about the end in mind, outcomes and options for yourself and others. Thank you for the question. My work in this space is, I think I would probably reference the Parrot Creek Youth and Family Services work, where certainly those teen boys need options. They need pathways back to success. And so I've been invested for about 6 years as a board member, trying to make sure that they have access to school while they're at Parrot Creek in the residential facility, as well as other supportive behavioral counseling options. So that's where my work has been. But looking into our district now, I really value student voice. Thanks for your question. I think that needs to remain a vital component of our board work, and preserving and protecting the multiple options that our students have access to in North Clackamas, such as Save and Schellenberg and Milwaukee Arts, and so many other things that are so valuable about our district.
Thank you,
Give
Glenn.
students options.
Thank you, Glenn. All right, Amy, you're up.
Hey, Odin, great question. How will I serve the needs of all students? I'm going to go with academics. We give you guys the tools and guidance and curriculum and, the support from educators, administration, and we watch you flourish by being able to read above grade level, by being able to do mathematics above grade level. And we're going to watch your confidence rise. And when your confidence rises and you're ready to step on that stage at graduation, there's going to be no fear, no anxiety, no depression. When you roll into your 4-year collegiate school or a community college, or you roll into a trade school and you want to start making money right off the bat, you're going to be ready for that. And that really starts with getting you guys caught up in academics. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. All right, April, you are up next.
Well, I'd like to focus on, I think, 2 points of contact for students, because I want to increase this, two-way communication. And one of those is with educators who, they reach more of our students than any of us sitting on the board ever will on a regular basis. So I think it's important to make sure that they get that professional development that will help students achieve success. And then I think I'd also like to encourage student voice as part of our North Clackamas School Board. And one of the things that I'd like to look into if I'm elected is adding a student voice to our board. I know other districts have done it. I think it's a valuable way to collect information and from our biggest stakeholders, our students. And I look forward to our board meetings being an environment where they can safely contribute.
Thank you, April. Angela.
Yes, this is a multifaceted question and I love it. I am student-centered, and I think that if we look at that holistically and we meet the students' needs academically, emotionally, and just that they feel like they're part of the community, and I think that comes with us listening to them, listening to what they need. Like April said, I love the idea of bringing them to the school board and providing opportunities of maybe communities of students from each school to come and share with us things that would help improve their educational experience. Definitely providing robust extracurricular activities and programs that enrich their lives. And yep, that's where I would focus, is just listening to what the students need. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. And we will have Paul be our last question answerer of the.
And thank you. Yeah, good question, Odin. You know, a lot of my volunteer work hasn't centered around the school district as much. It's been probably a broader area of the metro area, but you know, I was in the Big Brother program for 2.5 years. I was a Cub Scout leader. I worked with several Eagle Scout students at Clackamas when they were going through that to earn that badge. I've also worked with Students Demand Action leaders here in Oregon and nationally. And I've also worked at Union Gospel Mission and seen entire families coming in to get meals there. And it's pretty heartbreaking. I've also done a lot of volunteer work out at Camp Namana, which is a camp associated with Campfire, and it's open to a lot of kids year round and a number of other activities. And I can't remember if I mentioned Habitat for Humanity as well. So many of these things have.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah.
All right. I just want to thank all of our candidates for helping to keep us all on time tonight. Thank you for answering all of those questions. And thank you for running to represent our community. I know it's not an easy task to run a campaign. I'm going to turn it over to Erin here in just a minute. I'm just going to remind everyone that our May 16th, Tuesday, May 16th is the magic day for when ballots are due. We do have the change in mail-in rules in Oregon now, but I would encourage you to vote as soon as you are able. Get them in the drop boxes, get them in the mail, and have your voice heard. This is a very important race for our community. So thank you to everyone watching tonight. And Erin, I love Erin's timer, by the way. That's amazing. But Erin, I will let you wrap us up.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you to all the candidates for taking the time, for being here. It means a lot that there were 7, almost a full slate here tonight. Thank you for everyone that submitted questions. I was so impressed with our community. Thank you for taking the time to do that. And thank you for moderating, Stephanie, and for a great forum. Like Stephanie said, May 16th, vote, tell your neighbors to vote, and then have them tell their neighbors to vote as well. And if you are interested in finding out more information about the PCLA, you'd like to do some legislative and funding work and to hear about budgets and fun things like that, you can take a look at the district's website. Look for the PCLA. You can send for email list and you will find out more information about that. And I'm going to go ahead and say this forum is adjourned.